Hey guys, today I'm going to take you somewhere unexpected. Not to a museum, not to some dusty academic lecture hall with too many PowerPoint slides. We're going underground beneath the marble grandeur of the Acropolis, beneath the Parthenon's perfectly weathered pillars, down where tourists don't go and the air smells like cooled stone and forgotten memory. The stars above Athens glitter like shattered glass tonight, but it's not the constellations that catch your attention. It's a flicker-quick, silent, and low-moving knot across the sky, but behind the mountain, almost as if it curved on purpose. You brush it off. For now, careful thaw be the end. You might never see history the same way again. So, before we descend into this strange story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe a bit. Only if ancient secrets and cosmic questions are your thing. Drop your current location and time in the comments. You want to know where on Earth or beyond you're watching from. Now, take a breath, clear your mind, and let's unlock the myths that may never have been myths at all. You're standing beside a locked service gate to the south side of the Acropolis. There's a path here not listed on the official Gedessa crack in the limestone. Technically a drainage shaft, though it's clearly been widened. Local kids whisper about voices coming from this gap at night, but adults wave it off. Just echoes, they say. But that's what you're here to test. You step inside. It's narrow and dark, the air heavy like it's been stored in a jar since the Bronze Age. Your flashlight beam cuts through the dust as you descend a spiraling slope of carved stone. And then you hear it, a pulse, a sound that shouldn't be there. It doesn't bounce, doesn't echo. It answers. Every footstep you take down triggers a low vibration, like something is mimicking your rhythm from below. Not a delay, not a repetition, an echo that adapts, harmonizes. You stop, the pulse stops. You stump, it pulses back twice. You mutter, okay, that's not creepy at all, because nervous humor is cheaper than therapy. The slope flattens, and you reach a small chamber undecorated, forgotten, but too symmetrical to be natural. And right in the center, carved into the stone floor, is a glyph. A wheel, 12 spokes, circular flames, the same one that appears on old coins labeled Apollo's chariot. Only this one looks fresh. The edges are too sharp. There's no erosion. Here's where it gets weird. You pull out your phone to record and the screen glitches. Not battery dead, not cracked. It displays a single icon, that same flaming wheel, pulsing softly, like it's sensing with the chamber's heartbeat. You swipe, shake it, curse it, nothing works, and then the pulse returns. You place your palm on the glyph and feel warmth like sun-warmed copper, and beneath that, movement. Slow, circular, like gears that haven't turned in millennia, just started again. Historians still argue whether the substructures under the Acropolis were originally Mycenaean, or something even older, what some call Pelasgian. Mainstream consensus sticks with caves and cisterns, but there are accounts obscure, often ridiculous, that describe songs beneath the hill and a mirror that speaks without voice. The phrase shows up in 7th century Byzantine texts and, oddly enough, a Babylonian fragment found miles away. Coincidence? Or a frequency shared between sites? You lean closer to the glyph hand for just a moment. Your breath fogs. It's not cold down here, and yet your skin prickles like the chamber dipped in temperature. And then, in the silence between pulses, something else emerges. A whisper. It's not Greek, not even remotely Indo-European, but your brain tries to fill it in anyway. 3 syllables, repeating, like a name not meant for vocal cords. Something flickers in the corner. You spin, flashlight raised, heart auditioning for a drum line, and there, etched faintly on the far wall, is a figure. Not a god, not a man. Elongated skull, 4 eyes, limbs bending backward like a mantis at rest. Its hand is raised not in threat, but greeting, and on its palm, the flaming wheel. You don't know whether to laugh or run. This is where the rational part of your brain throws its hands up and walks off. The part that stayed is now trying to remember every fringe theory you've ever doom-scrolled. Because this isn't metaphor, this isn't symbol, this is a signature. The kind you leave behind when you're coming back. You step toward the carving and realize something else. This isn't a mural, it's a door. The seams are subtle, hidden in the stone grain, but they're there. You press the figure's palm and the echo starts again. This time, layered, complex, a polyphonic resonance that shouldn't come from stone. The door doesn't open, but it listens. And somewhere, deep below, it sounds like something listens back. The next morning, sunlight slices across the Acropolis like a divine decree. But you're not looking at the sky anymore. You're standing in the museum, trying to make sense of what happened underground. Everyone's focused on the usual suspect Sathana's statue, the Elgin marble drama, pots with fancy hoplite doodles, but you've got eyes for something more obscure. A panel near the back shows an odd relief. No caption, no fanfare, just a figure standing in what looks like a radiating ring, arms outstretched. Not a god, not a warrior, and yet there's no face, just a polished blank oval where a face should be. Around its head, spoked lines like solar flares, and in one hand, a sphere split into rings, just like Saturn dissected in geometry class. You lean in. Your reflection wavers in the glass. For a second, it's not your face that looks back. You blink. Still you. Probably. Historians still argue whether this piece is a forgery or just misunderstood. Some say it's a stylized Apollo. Others claim it's a priest in ceremonial armor. But fringe theorists kind who write blogs with stars in the background. And way too many ellipses whisper that this figure appears in other places too. Not just Greece. Not just the Mediterranean. Tiahuanaco. Göbekli Tepe. Even northern Japan. Always the same silhouette. Always the same sphere. No face. Just watching. You step away from the case, and your phone buzzes. Signal returns. First time since the glyph room. But now there's something new. A sound file in your voice memos. Timestamp for last night. You didn't record anything. You press play. It's static. Then, the sound of your footsteps. Then another set. Out of sync. Softer. Not echo. Not animal. And then 3 syllables. The same ones you heard in the glyph chamber. Only now, they're clear. They pulse in your bones like a tuning fork left in your chest. You rush out of the museum like a conspiracy theorist on espresso. There's someone you need to see. He runs a tiny bookstore off Monastiraki square walls, stacked high with books that smell like apocalypse. His beard makes him look like he time-traveled here from the Bronze Age just to be annoyed. You tell him about the glyph, the carving, the voice memo. He doesn't laugh. Instead, he nods and pulls out a worn book, vellum pages, handwritten. Margin notes in 6 languages, and one he says isn't for mouths. He flips to a page with the flaming wheel. Akurus, he says. You raise an eyebrow. He clarifies. Means resonance vessel in the old tongue. Not Greek. Older. The legend, he explains, speaks of beings who taught through vibration. Not speech. Not gesture. Vibration. They tuned placetimbers, stones, even Piaplito respond to specific frequencies. He points to a passage. When the note returns in harmony, the gate remembers. You tell him that's creepy as hell. He shrugs. Then he says something that sticks. They didn't speak to be understood. They sang to be remembered. You leave the shop with your head buzzing like a hive of haunted tuning forks. Back up the hill, back to the Acropolis. But this time, instead of slipping into that side path, you look for something new. There behind a broken marble bench you spot it. A circle of stones, too precise to be random, scorched faintly in a sunburst pattern. At its center, olive branches, twisted into a wreath, but they're fresh, not burned, placed, and beneath that, you guessed it, another wheel. This one etched into what looks like metal, but it's cold, colder than it should be in full daylight. You crouch, reach out, then stop, because someone's watching you, or something. Just outside your peripheral vision, a figure stands beside one of the ruined columns. It's tall, too tall, not just a dude in a hoodie tall, more like a glitched Renaissance statue. No face, same silhouette from the relief, long limbs tucked behind a cloak that doesn't rustle in the wind. You freeze, and it tilts its head, not menacing, more curious, as if it's wondering how much you've remembered. Then it raises one hand, palm forward, and on it, that same damn wheel, this time glowing faintly. You blink. Gone. Was it ever really there? You touch the metal disc. It hums under your fingers like a distant song held underwater. This time, no glitch. Your phone works. Your body doesn't shiver. But deep in your chest, something realigns. A subtle shift, like you were just tuned. like you were the instrument. The locals blame the strange acoustics beneath the Acropolis on hidden chambers, random geometry. But maybe it's not the shape of the stone that matters. Maybe it's who made it. You remember something the bookseller said, almost offhand. What if the temples were never meant to be seen from the outside? What if the rituals were a side effect? What if the whole Acropolis is an instrument? You walk away slowly, feeling the ground beneath you vibrate with each step, not from footsteps, but like a low-frequency broadcast pushing up from the bones of the earth. Whatever's beneath the Acropolis isn't just echoing, it's calling. You don't go home that night. Instead, you book a last-minute room near the Placa, barely big enough for a suitcase and a secret. The balcony view is all sloped tile rooftops and laundry lines, but you can see the Parthenon glowing like a lunar memory. You sit on the edge of the bed, earbuds in, playing the voice memo on loop. Those three-syllables repeating, folding inward, reshaping your thoughts. You start humming them under your breath, not realizing when your tone matches the recording exactly. And when it does, the streetlight outside your window flickers. No big deal, probably a coincidence, until all the lights on the street go out on by one like dominoes of shadow, falling uphill toward the Acropolis. You don't sleep. By sunrise, you're back at the ruins. Only this time, you're not the only one who's noticed. There's a team in gray uniforms unpacking gear. Not archaeologists, not Greek police, no logos, just clipboards, earpieces, and that stiff kind of politeness that screams classified. You keep your distance, but one of them catches your eye and gives you the nod. The universal "you didn't see anything" gesture. Too late for that. So you head for the one spot no one ever guards, North Slope, beneath the Erechtheion, where tourists rarely go. Overgrown, forgotten. But here, carved into a stone wall half swallowed by roots, you find the first real clue. A star chart, but not one of ours. The constellations are wrong. Familiar shapes twisted into alien geometries. Orion's belt has 5 stars. Cassiopeia loops inward like a Möbius strip. And near the Saturn emblem, the wheel again. Only now it's nested inside an arch of stars, a kind of doorway. And then, a movement. From the shadows under the stone lip, something steps forward. You expect another official, or a hiker, or maybe just a goat with boundary issues. But no, this one's different. It's small, child-sized, but elongated. Limbs too smooth, skin pale gold like old marble, with faint lines that pulse gently, instant veins of impossible purpose. No mouth, no eyes, but you feel it watching you. And then you hear it, not in your ears, in your head. It's not speech, it's memory. You see temples being built from stone that sings, beings floating above scaffolding, guiding blocks into place with gestures alone. Not worshipedasted, priests learning vibrational harmonics, sensing with celestial patterns. Cities calibrated like instruments, resonating with specific stars. And then silence. The memory fades. The being steps back. You open your mouth to speak, to ask something human and foolish like why? Or are you still here? But it's already gone. You stumble back up toward the main grounds, but now everything feels different. Like layers of history are peeling off the walls. You see things you didn't before, forcible grooves in the marble, spaced to precisely. Hidden symbols behind restored columns, and under the open-air scaffolding, a stone drum-like object no one's touched in centuries starts to hum as you pass. You touch it. It sings, just 2 notes, low, then high. Your phone buzzes again. Another recording, this time unnamed. You play it. Same tones, exactly the same. You begin to realize this place was never built for people to pray in. It was built to resonate. Like a tuning fork placed between the earth and something else. Something watching. There's an old legend about a cave beneath the Acropolis, older than Athena, older than Poseidon, older than myth itself. Some say it was sealed by priests. Others whisper it was buried on purpose, too dangerous to access. But now, with the hum in your bones guiding your feet, you find it. A narrow crevice behind a crumbled wall, hidden beneath vines and centuries of forgetfulness. You crawl through. Inside, darkness. Then light. Not firelight. Not artificial. Something deeper. A glow that seems to recognize you. The cave opens into a chamber lined with stone discs embedded in the walls. each marked with a variation of the same symbol wheel, fractured into glyphs. At the center, a plinth, and on it, a device, small or like, smooth metal inscribed with swirling bands and a glowing core, faintly pulsing. You reach out not because you want to, but because every part of you knows it's the next note in the song. Your fingers brush the surface. Reality shifts, not violently, just wrongness turning right. You stand no longer in a cave, but in a chamber of light. The discs on the wall now glow with moving symbols, and standing in front of you are three figures, tall, luminous, cloaked in patterns that shift like liquid geometry. Their faces unreadable, not because they lack features, but because those features don't stay still. And you understand, they are not gods, they are not conquerors, they are conductors of music, of memory, of time. They do not speak, but they broadcast into your mind an image, Earth as an instrument, humanity as resonance, temples, myths, ritual echoes of a contact long buried beneath metaphor. They point behind you. You turn. Their hovering is the chariot, not horse-drawn, not poetic, sleek, black gold, ringed in apertures, humming with tonal vibration. The core chamber glows like a sun submerged in water. It hovers in place, and for a moment, the idea of craft dissolves. This isn't a ship, it's a song. You blink, back in the cave, alone. But something's changed. The orb is gone, but the hum remains. Outside, the sun is rising. You step back into the mortal world, shoes covered in dust from a chamber that shouldn't exist. The Acropolis looms above like a crown built by echo. People walk past you, headphones in, distracted, taking selfies. But you hear it now, the harmony, the note returning, the gate remembering. You're not the same. None of us are. We just forgot the song. Later that night, you sit again on your balcony, watching the Acropolis bathed in amber floodlight. It doesn't look like ruins anymore. It looks like an antenna, like something asleep, waiting for a signal. The three tones play on loop in your memory, soft, steady, beautiful in their simplicity. But under them a fourth note, faint, distant, approaching. You feel it in your breath, in the pressure behind your eyes, in the stillness between seconds. Somewhere above, stars shift, not fast, just enough to remind you they're not fixed, that the constellations we trace into gods and monsters may be cartography left behind by someone else, someone who still checks in, someone who waits for the right harmony to rise again. Maybe the strange acoustics below the Acropolis aren't echoes at all. Maybe they're feedback, the kind you get when something hears itself, like the universe tuning into its own memory. The gate might never open with force. It might open with pitch, and if so, someone, maybe even Yao, will sing the right chord. Until then, walk softly, listen closely, because the ancient myths weren't trying to explain the world. They were trying to remember it. And if you've felt that memory stirring in your bones tonight, you're not alone. Maybe tonight, the stars aren't looking down. Maybe they're waiting for someone to look back.